Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Otaku. Have been coming at you with another episode review. This time it'll be episode 3 of the Phantasy Star Online 2 animation. Now, this episode started off, it looked like they were in a raid of sorts with SORO and Itsuki going to kill a boss, but it could have just been the emergency call from last time, or another emergency call or something, and we didn't really get a clarification on that. But afterwards, we get to see Itsuki grow as a player because he learns about multi-party play. Multi-party play is just basically you don't have to play solo or just with one friend. You can play with as much as 4 people generally, but some raids and stuff will go up to 8 or even 16 players depending on the game. I'm not sure how far PSO2 will let you go in the amount of players that you can have within one party, but basically this time we got to see Coda actually play. Coda was through with all of his meetings and stuff that he's got to do, so he logs in and plays with Itsuki, and we find out that he's actually a role player. So it's interesting to see his reaction to role players because it's the standard reaction of most people, but most people don't just jump into an MMO like Itsuki did. It's generally just seasoned players, maybe not seasoned in that MMO, but seasoned in other MMOs. They've had some past background, but Itsuki is still rather new, and he still doesn't understand the whole role playing thing quite yet. But Koda introduces Itsuki to a bunch of his other friends, and after that, they go into a mission basically, and do everything that they would do a multiplayer play. And he basically goes to slice something, and both Koda and one of Koda's friends cover his back, and he's like, not paying attention to your or overconfidence is your biggest downfall. So you need to pay attention to your surroundings and not be completely overconfident of what you have going on. So he's learning a confidence lesson there. And after that, we get to see that he comes back the next day with his report saying that, you know, it was pretty fun. I enjoyed multi-party play, and they sent him on a bunch of odd jobs throughout the rest of the episode while he's in the school scene and not actually playing PSO2, where he met this kid named Yuchan, or Yukata was his last name, but he called him Yuchan to make it a whole lot simpler. And he was ordered to go down to this place to pick up some stuff that they needed to get from a construction company. And he overheard the players in the background talking about him because they were the 2 members that were actually playing with him, or that Coda introduced him to, 2 of the 6 to 8 people. And it turns out he managed to see his first person that was actually a male dressed as a female character in the game. Well, scratch that, he was a male in real life and a female character in the game, not dressed as or anything. But so he's not anything like that. He's just, you know, what standard a lot of standard players do. They'll dress up as female simply because not only do they not want to look at a male the whole time they're playing, but the customization's often a whole lot better for females. You have a whole lot of better attire. Basically, they don't really put much into males, so that's why you see a lot of female players, even though a lot of them are actually men. But controversial as that is, we'll move on to what happened there. So he found out that all these players were actually real life players that he was playing with, which he knew, but he didn't really get the grasp of it until now. So he goes back into PSO2 the next day, and he meets what's called a troll. All the regulars that Coda introduced him to said, "Don't worry about. Don't play with that guy. That guy's a troll." So the next day, Coda and Itsuki are gonna do some more multi-party play, and they set up for the multi-party play, and they're like, "Should we add more players to our party?" And Soro goes walking by like, she wants to get in, but she doesn't want to act like she wants to get in. So after that, he's like, "Soro, you want to play with us?" So Soro gets in the group, and then the troll comes over there, and with his full green hair outfit and everything, he's like, "I'll be your fourth." And he's like, "Okay, well, let's go." They go into the dungeon, and the whole time he's just sitting back laying on the tree. The troll is just sitting back laying on the tree, letting them fight. Now, generally in the games, these people aren't called trolls if they just sit back like that. Trolls are a much different thing. And the aspects of just messing with you over text dialogue and stuff, or just messing you up in the game, basically, running an aggroing a bunch of enemies and bringing them to you or something along those lines. But this guy would be more considered a leecher, so I don't know why they really classified him as a troll. What leeches do is they just get into the game and get the minimum amount of work they need to get credit for the mission, which in Phantasy Star 2 probably isn't anything, and they sit back and they reap all the XP rewards that are shared so they don't get the full XP, but they get free XP basically, and it's at cost of the people that are actually in the dungeon. But regardless of that, Itsuki's almost hurt during this point in time, and Soro and them ask him to heal Itsuki, and he's like, "You shouldn't be having trouble with anybody at this level. You're a scrub for that, and I'm not gonna heal you. You heal yourself. You should have monomates." Monomates are the lowest healing item in the game as far as Phantasy Star Universe went. Like I said, I haven't played PSO2 too much yet. But monomates are the lowest healing item in the game, so you should be able to heal yourself at a low level. But monomates by level 15 or 16 should be pretty much phased out. You should be using dimates, potentially entry level trimates. But when I mean entry level trimates, you should have a couple of trimates. You shouldn't have like a full stack of trimates yet, but you should have a couple that, like 3 or 4, you can use in a real case of a bad scenario. But anyway, after they get out of the dungeon, he's walking away, the troll, and is like, then all of a sudden they're all yelling at him and stuff about him being a troll. And then he sends them a friends request. That's the biggest troll thing you can do. You can troll somebody, then send them a friend request. Like, hey, that was fun. But anyway, Koda was about to block the guy when Itsuki's like, no, stop. We got to realize that's actually a real player behind the screen. We need to learn more about him. He could actually be pretty good. So Itsuki accepts the friend request and runs over there and talks to him about why he trolls people. Because Itsuki thinks maybe trolling is actually fun, and Koda's not sure about it. He's like, maybe it is fun. I don't know why they do it exactly. But after that, we get out of the hole. We get back to the whole center, the main city, and Itsuki is like, wait a minute, you're you, right? And then everybody's trying to stop him because the troll is like, well, I can expose your identity right here and now. I know who you are, with doing a bunch of odd jobs and stuff. And then Sora realizes, this guy actually knows Itsuki. So Sora tries to stop him, and Itsuki doesn't know much about exposing in-game names, because his name is actually his own name, which Code actually warned him about being doxxed with his personal information leaked. But Itsuki doesn't seem to care too much about getting doxxed. But anyway, Itsuki actually tells Yukata's name to everyone in the whole main town area, and so Yu basically just cuts himself off from school, stops going to school, stops going to play PSO2. He just sits in the lobby basically. And after Itsuki goes back to school, the class president orders him to go fix what's going on, or otherwise it's going to leave a negative image for PSO2 in the school. So he has to go back through and run it. He ran up to Itsuki Yu's room and tries to reconcile with him. He's like, wait a minute, if he won't come out of his room, I'll just log into PSO2 because I'm sure he's in PSO2. And he talks to him there, and he's like, I consider you as a friend, and as long as you apologize to everybody, then all these things will go away. So the next little section, they all apologized. He apologized to everybody, and everybody forgave him as long as he didn't do anything else bad, because the apology was sincere. Then after that, he gave a report about how he fixed everything with you, Itsuki did, and then the class president called him up to the roof where she announced that he was SORO, well, that she was SORO, and Itsuki was just making fun of her, like, yeah, I already knew, and then quoting some of the more extravagant lines she said, just laughing at him, and she goes, you're not supposed to bring the in-game stuff into real life. Just basically trying to defend herself, because she's obviously a role player, and role players in game brought to real life just look kind of weird, so she doesn't want that reputation for herself, especially being one of the most popular girls in the school, who honestly seems to be growing an attraction for Itsuki, in my opinion, which is understandable from an anime perspective, because he's basically good at everything he does. I mean, he's not better than everybody else, but he's good at everything he does to the point to where he'll never most likely be pro at it, but he's just good at everything. He's not bad at anything, but he's not great at anything. He's just good. Overall, this episode I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 because it was pretty good. We had a lot of good plot progression. We learned a lot of things about MMOs if we haven't played them before, and hopefully out of this review, if you've watched it all the way through, you may have learned some things that you didn't know about MMOs. But I'm assuming if you're watching this review, you probably play MMOs, so hopefully that'll get across to everybody. I gave this episode an 8 out of 10 because we have that progress. We have character progression with Yu and Itsuki. We have learned, we've seen a raid potentially Could have been an emergency call thing, but I believe it was more or less of a raid at the very beginning. But the animation was pretty solid. It was lacking thereof from the earlier episodes, but it was still not half bad. But overall, like I said, 8 out of 10. That's my review, guys. Peace.